A man walked towards me, speaking in a strange language. I later found out that he was saying, "Mashallah, Mashallah," when he came and took my daughter from my arms. "How beautiful she is!" he exclaimed and introduced her to the other men. For some reason I didn't feel afraid of this strange person taking my daughter. He sat her down on a table and gave her pens, pencils and a stapler, anything that could distract her, all the while smiling and trying to get her to talk. The other men gathered around her too, and finally Abdul Hamid came to greet me. I offered my hand, but he pretended not to see. There was still so much to learn about Islamic etiquette between the sexes, and began to ask me how I had discovered Islam. I spoke briefly about Ahmad, the Nigerian, and he continued to explain the basics of Islam to me. At least an hour passed and then he gave me a copy of the Quran, asking me to take it home and have a shower before opening it. I quickly agreed. He told me that prayer time was approaching and that I needed to prepare. I thanked him, but I had one final request. I wanted to attend the prayer. Having been married to an atheist, for some reason I was very interested in watching this man pray. I always felt that a man wasn't a real man unless he prayed to God. Abdul Hamid told me that I could watch the prayer from the back of the mosque, but please don't make any noise. Again I agreed and we went downstairs, where he put me at the back of an empty space decorated only with a beautiful carpet and a niche in the wall. That niche, I would later learn, marked the direction for prayer. As I watched the men enter, I was surprised by a loud noise. It was the call to prayer. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. As I listened, I felt as if ice-cold water was running through my veins. It was as if my whole being was awakened by this loud and magnificent call. Although I didn't understand a word, I felt it was speaking to me. Tears filled my eyes and I began to tremble. I crossed my arms and hugged myself, trying to warm up and calm down. The tears flowed as I watched the men first bow and then prostrate themselves in prayer, just as I had done so long ago on that sunny day in my room. I was in awe. I was overjoyed and emotional. More than that, I was home. Over the next few weeks I met more Muslims at the mosque and had lessons about Islam. I started sewing Islamic-style clothes for myself, although I only wore them in my room when I tried to pray alone. I started to change. I stopped drinking alcohol and refused to eat pork. My personality changed. I became quieter and calmer. I was at peace. My mother asked about my change. She thought I was depressed. "You don't laugh anymore," she said. I tried to explain that I was very happy, just in a quieter way. I finally took courage and told her about Islam. I even showed her the clothes I had sewn and modeled an outfit for her. She was furious. She hated the clothes instantly. My mother had always been a fashionable woman. She ridiculed the simplicity of the clothes and the fact that they were baggy. She thought they looked like bags. Her rude comments hurt me, but they didn't deter me. Nothing would separate me from Islam. My last Christmas before telling Shahada was a nightmare. Even during that time, I knew that this was all his way of taking me out of the darkness of false belief with no good memories. Even so, those were difficult days. My mother was angry with me for not taking part in the holiday, and my brother, drunk as ever, destroyed some of my belongings in a fit of rage and threatened to kill me. Earlier, he had come into my room and seen me in Islamic garb. Although he wasn't religious, he didn't even go to church. He was also furious at my decision to become a Muslim. The angrier they got, the more certain I became that I was doing the right thing. I simply didn't want to live the kind of life they lived anymore. After a few months, I made my profession of faith. One Friday evening in spring, I became a Muslim. With gratitude and humility, I accepted the gift of Islam. My mother insisted that I leave her house. But Allah in His infinite mercy had found a home for me. The night I did the Shahada, an Egyptian who had witnessed it asked about me for marriage. My wali, guardian, the man who had taken my daughter from my arms on my first visit to the mosque, asked my opinion. My only concern was that he was a good believer. My wali had already checked and he was. Within 10 days I was married and living with my daughter in my new home with my new husband. He raised my daughter as his own and, alhamdulillah, we had 2 children after that. It's been 26 years since I was blessed to live my life as a Muslim. The years have passed so quickly. They haven't always been easy, but they have been blessed nonetheless. Allah tests those He loves, but as He says in the Quran, with difficulty comes ease. And that proved to be true. Meanwhile, my mother, who was separated from me for many years, is now living with me in an Islamic country and wearing the hijab voluntarily. I am hopeful that she too will soon accept Islam, inshallah, by the will of Allah. Despite the difficult times, I can't imagine living my life any other way. I thank Allah every day for the mercy of His guidance and for this miraculous journey from the darkness to the light of Islam.